Hi, everybody. Welcome. And today I have a special guest for you. She is a medicine woman, a shaman, a sound healer, a musician, a belly dancer. She's also a mother, a lover, an incredible spiritual leader in the Rhode Island community here in the United States of America. And I'm so thrilled to have Tanya Gorriaran here with us today. Hi, Tanya. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Julie. I am so honored to be here today. Thank you for putting this together.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on this platform because I think that you have so much wisdom to share with everybody here. And one of the things I'd love for you to talk about is what it is to be a woman. What is it like? How do we keep that sensuality going? And how do we connect to that authentic self?
So, being a woman to me is finding strength in the divine flow. It's your creative potential. And as feminine beings, we are all about creativity and being in the flow, being in intuition, being in softness and nurturing, being emotional, being graceful, being beautiful, and just following a path of love. Because I feel like if you follow that path of love, you'll be in union and harmony with nature, which is like the truest feminine, with the water and the earth. And it's just so beautiful, beautiful time to be a woman.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I really do agree. And I think it's also incredible to have empowering women come together and share their wisdom and share their talents and their gifts. And I just recently experienced an incredible workshop with you. I know you teach online and you also do one-on-one in person and sacred ceremonies. You just recently held a sacred ceremony. But I just want to kind of touch base on what is it that you implement? What do you bring? And how do you bring out that femininity and the power of a woman from your clients?
One of my offerings, which I think is so important, is one, connecting to your ancestral lineage, connecting to those powerful women who hold the medicine in your family. And so I do a journey where you connect to this lineage and you're given the gift from that grandmother. It's passed along to you to then make that medicine your own. And when I say medicine, it doesn't mean, it can mean whatever you want, right? It doesn't have to be a traditional form of the word, but it's your magic, it's your wisdom, and doing it in your way, in your practice. And then the other offering that I think is so important is receiving the rite of the womb. And so this is a Munaiki initiation that was developed by Marcela Lobos. But I feel it's so important that every woman receive this rite because it's a rite to cleanse the womb. And the womb is a place that is not meant to hold fear and pain and trauma and wounds or disease. It's meant to be a place where we can create and give birth to life, birthing the life that we want. So not necessarily children, but just creating the dream that you want to manifest and have that become reality. So I feel like having those two offerings play a big part in a lot of my healing work, because I feel that we need to step into our own wisdom. And when you tap in, especially as women, to our womb consciousness, we're tapping into the cerebellum, which is our intuition, it's our imagination, and coming in, and then it's in our sacral chakra. So it's all about sensuality and flow and being playful. And so I feel it's so powerful to clear those areas of any traumas and wounds, and so that it is freed so that we can create and be who we're meant to be.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I did also just recently experienced one of those workshops where I connected to my ancestry and connected to my grandmother who recently passed away. She lived in Ukraine at the time, and because of the war, gosh, I can't even speak, but because of the war, I wasn't able to go to a funeral, and I haven't seen her since I was a child. But that connection, the way you led into that whole process, I mean, I literally ended up being in a huge circle of women in a different oriental type of clothing, and this huge fire, this just huge fire. And I remember my grandmother walking towards me and sharing words of wisdom. And that connection was so powerful to me, and I feel like it healed a part of me. And I think it also took away from the shame and the feel of guilt that I wasn't there for her last days. And I'm just I'm really grateful for the gifts that you share. But I also know that you're a musician and that you're a belly dancer. How do you incorporate that into your music? Because I mean, into your work, because I know in my workshop you also did shamanic healing, you were drumming. And so how do you implement those elements in your work?
So it's a fun balance. And for me, dancing is, for me, a way to step into who I am. And it's a way to connect to my inner power and embracing my sensuality. I feel that as women, we're often shamed for being, overly sensual, or some mistakenly say overly sexual. And I totally disagree with that. We are sensual beings. We have curves, we have, intuitive flow. And when you tap into that, for me, through dance and through music, it's a way for me to connect to source, to be able to channel wisdom. I want women to, like I do, I want them to feel so empowered, and release like any of that shame. Because I mean, I remember as a kid, like, this is so dumb. I was a freshman in high school. I hadn't even had sex with anybody yet. Like, I was still a virgin. And all these guys, like, I'd be walking down and they're calling me a whore and a slut and all these things. And I'm like, what? And at the time I was so hurt and I was shamed for no reason, because I didn't do anything. And it stayed with me for a long time. And I always, you know what I mean? Like, kind of didn't want to show that side of me. But like, hello, we're women, like, that's who we are. And so I had to heal that, like, heal that wound, that and not carry that any longer, because that was not mine to carry. That was their story, their issue, their maybe discomfort with feminine energy. And now I've learned to embrace it and use it. I remember someone called me a seductress, and I took that as such an insult. Like, how could they call me a seductress? But then I realized, whoa, seductress, like, that's actually really good, because now I'm the magnet that draws people in. And it's like, what am I drawing you into? It's like, I'm drawing you, into your love, into spirituality, into present moment. And like, and so now I've learned to really embrace that term instead of being shamed by it. So it's just, it's interesting how, like, evolution of things, and how we grow and mature. And I wish as a kid, I knew that, as a woman, as a young woman, and stand in my true power. And so I use dance mostly in my workshops as a way to, to go through a journey and feel into your body. So using your breath, using that to create movement, using it to, to initiate movements and feel into your body, to feel into emotions. Because as we know, unprocessed emotions become stagnant energy in the body. And so dancing is a great way to release some of those stagnant energies, because we want vibrancy, we want vitality, we want that energy to be flow and clear, and a connection to source, a connection to Mother Gaia, to the cosmic womb. And so dance for me is a powerful way to do that. And I love the freedom that is able to be expressed when we dance. And for example, I had a workshop last weekend. It was called the Temple of Love. And we ended with dancing. And it was a journey, finding those pieces that maybe you've been shamed for, or pieces you don't want people to see. And you move through that ultimate, and then in the end, dancing into your goddess, like the goddess that you are, the queen that you are. And to see the transformation that happens when people begin to step into themselves and show a little bit of love for each of those parts. Oh my gosh, such a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, I bet. I want to also kind of go along with this and ask you, what is your process on a daily basis to stay in your power, to stay connected to your authentic self? And, is there like rituals that you follow through? Because, having all these different roles that you live, how do you manage all of this together? How do you stay in your full power as you are?
I think a daily practice is vital to stay connected to yourself and to source, to spirit. Every morning I wake up early, which is not something, I'm not a morning person at all, but it's so important to me to have a daily practice. So I wake up early every day to meditate, to breathe, to journal, and to connect with source. And in that connection, when I'm coming to presence, is when I feel my most authentic self. And so I use that time to tap into, what's my day going to look like? What are my priorities? What do I need to know for today? Is there anything that I need to do? Is there any message that I need to receive to help me navigate my day? And so doing a practice every day, it becomes easier to connect to that higher self, to connect to your wisdom. So I really feel it's important to come to a practice every day. And it doesn't have to be that, but for me, that's what it is. It's meditation, it's breath work, and journaling. And then obviously I dance a lot. And so I don't do that on a daily, but at least 3 to 4 times a week, I come to my body and let it out through dance.
Do you just randomly put on music and just start dancing, or is there like a process? Do you tell your partner or your kids like, okay, this is mama's time, I'm just gonna put on some music, and like do my thing? How do you do it?
Yeah, so I also I teach yoga, and so a lot of the time what happens is I'm doing yoga, then I have music, I have all these playlists, and it just turns into a dance party. So it's just a transition from my yoga practice to dance. But another fun thing that I love to do is just taking my drum and just drumming as I'm dancing and I'm singing. And I love to go in nature and do this. So it's just another way to express. And these things, I make time for these things. So I think that is the important thing. As women, we are nurturers. We naturally take that role of taking care of everyone else, but we don't make time for ourselves. And so as a mom, I realized the importance because I was burnt out. I became drained. I was not happy. And what I found was I needed to step into me and give myself time to take care of me. And so now I intentionally make time to do these things that bring me joy, that bring me peace, that fill me up with self-love. And that is so, again, so important to take time for you. So it's very intentional when these practices happen.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think sometimes I have these moments too where I'm working so much, and most of my work, I'm planning to release my online program right now. And so I feel like I'm having a full-time relationship with my computer, and it's like constantly always work. But then I'm like, I just push myself out of the seat and I'm like, all right, it's time to get up and dance. And I just dance it out just to feel presence in my body, because being working constantly is just like you're in your mind and you're focused on something, and having that little break for myself, even if it's just like 5 minutes, it really truly makes difference, because it moves the energy around and it makes you feel embodied, and I love that. One of the things I also wanted to ask you is, how did you came about connecting all these elements together with the music and the dance and the breath work and your shamanic healing, and you're also a physical therapist? And how did you come about combining all these elements together? And I also know that you're part of the International Breathwork Foundation Breathing Arts, and that you also do events, because I was part of the group as well. And how did you came about it? How did it all happen for you?
Magic, Julie. It's magic. I think like all of us, we are a constant evolution. And the first step for me was realizing that I was important and I needed to take care of myself. So the first step was doing yoga. So yoga class is what brought me to spirituality. And in yoga, I just loved it so much, not only for the physical benefits, but also the emotional and mental health benefits that I received from it. And so I decided to delve deeper. I became a yoga teacher. And in the training, in the philosophy of yoga, yoga is not just about postures, but pranayama is also one of the limbs of yoga. And for whatever reason, pranayama it really resonated with me. And so that I wanted to, learn more about and explore more. So I decided to try out breath work, not knowing anything about it. My friend was into it and she's like, "Oh, you need to come for this weekend." I'm like, "All right, let's check it out." And of course, I was hooked and ended up taking a training. And so all these things kind of, one thing led to another thing, led to another thing. And as I was doing my breath work, I met my shamanic teacher from Australia because she was a part of the breathwork community as well. And so when COVID happened, my blessing was that I was able to study with her online, which was such a beautiful gift to me. And so it brought in this other spiritual aspect, which has always been with me because I've always been one to connect with nature and be outside. As a kid, I was always in the woods, running around, always active, but always like getting dirty, making mud pies at the beach, rolling around in the sand, being in the water, like fully embodying being out in nature. That's always been part of who I am. And I think that that is part of the shamanic roots, probably from lifetimes ago. And so now I'm fortunate enough to be, my partner is also a shamanic healer. And it's beautiful because he's also been a teacher to me and we work together. It's such a beautiful thing. So incorporating all of those aspects, and dance has always been a part of it. And that's so sensual and being in flow. And it also provides for me a place to connect. Like I said earlier, it's almost, sometimes it's like my prayer when I'm moving through dance. And so these pieces all have been woven together in my tapestry. And I'm so grateful for it, grateful for having the opportunity to study with the teachers I've been able to study with, being able to practice the breath in my own life. And I think that is the most important thing. I don't just teach these things, I live this life. Like, this is my life. This is how I live my life. And I think that's so important. Like, I am walking this walk every single day, and I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but there are opportunities for growth and lessons in our life, and we continue on. So I feel like it's such a blessing.
I love that you're in your power, but then you're so feminine and you're so sensual and you have so many gifts to offer. And I want to touch on your roots, because you did mention earlier in our conversation about connecting to your grandmother's medicine. Maybe you can share with us, if you'd like, and talk a little bit more about your roots, like where your ancestry comes from and how do you implement, maybe you implement some traditional ways, I don't know, but maybe you can share.
What I've discovered is through my journeys with the shamanic practice. A lot of what I do is I go on journeys to different realms, to different lifetimes, and a lot of the medicine that I've received and a lot of the wisdom that I've gained is lineage through my past lives. And so I've seen myself as I was a Mongolian shaman in one past life. I was a Native American in another past life. And I've had, visions of all these different teachers in my past life. And in my studies, my homework always involves going deeper and learning more. It's like, what did I learn? What do I know? Who were my teachers during those different lifetimes? And each lifetime we come in as a different color. And there's different codes in those colors and different information. And so my job has been to find out what is that information that I have known? What are those codes? Who are my teachers? And each color I'm finding as I'm doing it, is each color has different information, and it's such a beautiful thing. So tapping into all of that wisdom from my different lifetimes. And then obviously I have my ancestral lineage, which, you know, from my mom, my grandmother. My mom definitely has gifts that, unfortunately, because of the time she was raised, she didn't develop them in the way that she is now, you know, that she has the capability of. But she definitely is a medicine woman. And my grandmother as well was one of those people that just knew, you know, just has that innate wisdom, and in her own way, like did her rituals and had her own medicine, but didn't know that that's what it was. Because she was in Cuba, and it, you know, a woman's place was to be a wife and a mom, and they didn't really explore these things, but definitely were medicine women um, by nature.
Tanya, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really honored and grateful that you have been sharing your gifts. And everybody, please do contact Tanya if you're interested in ancestral healing, connecting to your grandmother, whether you're a woman or a man, and you know, pass on the information. In the description, you will find out more information about her. And again, Tanya, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a blessed, beautiful day.
Okay, bye.